Well, oh, gracious. Welcome, everyone. We seem to be missing a couple of our lovely panelists, but welcome, everyone, to the BABSCon 2021 comics panel. So I want to first introduce myself. My name is Sweetie Bloom. If you don't know me, I'm just one of the personalities in the fandom, really. But what's more important, oh my goodness, Spock, there seems to be someone behind you. We've got our lovely guests. Let's start with Mr. Spock's companion over there, Mr. Andy Price.
Hi.
And we've got Trish Forstner.
Hello.
Do correct me if I pronounce your names wrong. I've mostly seen them in print. Jeremy Whitley.
Oh, it's Whitley though.
Whitley. My dyslexia kicked in and the E was in the wrong place for a second.
It happens to a lot of people.
Alrighty, and Thom is name?
Zahler.
Zahler. Well, I was nowhere close.
You got Thom right. That's the important one.
Exactly. I could get your first names correct. And Tony Fleecs?
See if you can do this. I think you did it right?
Fleecs?
No.
Darn. Fleecs?
Close,
I think mine was
Fleecs.
well. Mine and Andy's were the only ones that didn't get messed up.
Yay!
We're good. Look, mine was
2
mine's
out of
hard.
5.
So good for you.
I don't
Mine's
think that's
hard.
a passing grade, but I'll take it.
Close enough.
Alrighty. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. What we're mostly going to be talking about is going to be the season 10 that's still been going on. Everyone's hyped for Gen 5, but you know, Friendship is Magic isn't over. It's still going in the comics. So we want to talk a bit about that. We also want to talk about your guys' other projects. First, if we can actually get some visuals going, because Sonia's got some lovely visuals. So we can start with like the opening panel, like season 10. There we go. Yep.
Yeah.
There we go. So here we go. Friendship is Magic season 10. So one question I want, everybody can throw this in. Now that, because we were here last year, the couple of us, and we were talking about the hype for going into season 10. Now that it's out and started, and I'm sure you guys have, you definitely, because I've been keeping up and it's exciting for me. You've definitely got some secrets under your hat. What's it like when things are finally published and like it's finally out? You know, you don't have to keep that secret, and seeing the audience's reaction, you know, both good and bad. What's that like to finally see what you've been working on for so long reach your audience? We can start with Trish.
Oh my God. Yeah. Start with me. That's fine.
You were top of the list, so you win.
Oh. Well, I think it's great. I mean, I'm not in the industry very long, but it's really cool to finally see stuff get out there and see people notice it and find the things that they actually do pick out of it. My issue was issue 93 with Scootaloo and her parents and her aunts, and it was a darling issue, but no one noticed my Easter eggs. They were very small and subtle, and no one cared. But that's fine.
You have to tell us about them now.
It was just very subtle. But when I pointed them out, everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, okay." It was just a very subtle DuckTales reference. I'm sorry.
A DuckTales reference? Oh, I can't believe I missed it. Now I have to know.
Yeah, it's the page where Scootaloo's giving a tour. She's in the clubhouse, and there's a bunch of little pictures everywhere, and there's like a top hat and a plane and a dime, and there's like cord in between them all, and I'm surprised they didn't just, but it's okay. But yes, that issue was really fun. It was my first full issue for My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. So cute.
Awesome. Well, the Disney fans failed you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they did. Maybe there's not much crossover there, and I wasn't considering it.
Oh, there absolutely is. There is crossover. I can speak as a Disney fan. Just weren't paying enough attention, I suppose. All right. Thank you. So, Jeremy, how about you?
It's especially with this season, it was to me just like a relief to see things getting out into the world, because like everything we wanted to do was supposed to start with Free Comic Book Day last year, and then Free Comic Book Day didn't happen, and then comics just didn't happen for a few months. And like by the time like the actual issues for the first arc started coming out, like actually made it out, like season 10 had been theoretically going for half of a year at that point. So it was like, all right, we finally finished the first arc. I was like, geez, I have had like the next 3 sections of this written for like a good chunk of time. And it was finally like a relief when that Zecora story finally finished, because it was going on for like 8 months by the time it was done. And like it was exciting to see it get out there and see people seeing what we were doing with it, and to actually, you know, start to see the season take shape a little bit. It's been, there's people have caught a lot of our little Easter eggs, although I have to say I was disappointed in people with the annual that I named a dog Indiana and nobody commented on it.
I saw that for shame.
And I know which one it was, and I am very surprised no one caught it.
Yeah,
and I'm very biased. So
I'm very biased too. I appreciated that the dog was the same breed as Indiana in the movies, because Indiana has a small cameo in the movies, and I'm like, it's the same dog. I appreciated it, I will say.
Well, thank you. I was very excited about that little reference. I was like, I have to name, you know, 6 dogs at this point. Like, what do I name them? And that one was just like, well, I'm naming one of them Indiana, obviously. And then I just had to figure out the rest of them from there.
Yeah, nice. Awesome. Well, what about you, Thom?
Yeah, Jeremy's right. Like, time's been a flat circle since the pandemic, and things just aren't happening in real order. So when my first issues came out, like, I knew they were coming out, I knew they were delayed, but like I had no idea when they would be back in the world. So it was just this really visceral connection to something actually existing, and then seeing people react to it. I've been writing a lot of the cheese sandwich Pinkie Pie stuff, and it's been interesting seeing people react to it and react a little too fast sometimes, because I'm doing stuff with it, and then people are guessing where it's going, and then maybe it goes that way, maybe it doesn't, but people are bringing their own thoughts along with their relationship stuff. Yeah, but it's been a lot of fun to do. I love writing cheese sandwich. I love writing Pinkie Pie.
Excellent. Yeah, be careful with shippers. We can be intense.
Mm-hmm. Are you saying people have preconceived notions about these characters, Thom?
Yes, I am.
What a novel concept.
Shocking. All righty. What about you, Andy?
It's weird, you know, like Jeremy was saying, you know, we announced this so far back. The official announcement went out to the world at New York Comic Con 2019.
Woo.
And that's where they first showed the cover for season 10. And so, you know, the pandemic hit right after that, and we've just been sitting still. But now that these are coming out, it's great to hear people's reactions, you know, that we didn't lose everybody in that downtime. And it's always great when your books come out. I'm sure that we've gotten very jaded to it. You know, we'll get a package in the mail of our comps, and half the time I don't even open them because I know what it is, and I just spent 3 months, you know, drawing the thing or whatever. But it is
looking at this thing.
Yeah, I'm tired of looking at it. But when it finally comes out, when it's in somebody's hands, when you can see it on a bookshelf, it's never not going to be an amazing feeling. So
awesome. Yeah, it's good that, you know, you haven't gotten too jaded to being a celebrities.
Right, celebrities.
All right, what about you, Tony?
Yeah, I mean, just echoing what everybody else has said, but it's just been so weird having all this stuff come out this year and last year, and having no conventions and no like physical contact with the readers, which has been such a big part of Pony's. Absolutely, for the whole time we've been doing it, you know, there've always been pony conventions, and there's always been like a real close connection with the readers, where when we do something, I'll get to hear about it in person from somebody, you know, like within a couple of months. And this has just been, you know, issues upon issues. I mean, we had, you know, entire My Little Pony Transformers miniseries, and season 10's been coming out, and like all this stuff that people would be, you know, yelling at me about. Like, you know, you get a little bit of it on social media, but it's not anywhere near the same as looking in somebody's face and hearing them tell you, you know, what they think's going to happen, or what they liked or what they didn't like. So, I mean, obviously it's like the least important thing that we lost in all this, but it is just an interesting difference that I wouldn't have expected, you know, when all this started. It's just like, we've been putting these comics out, and I haven't talked to any fans about it, you know, face to face. It's been strange.
Awesome.
Awesome.
No, it's great that you can still connect with fans.
Pandemic.
Well, yeah, but the thing about the pandemic is, you know, people find ways to stay connected. You know,
yeah, and it's great we get to do stuff like this, and you know, this is as good as we can do, sort of right now. But I'm definitely excited to get back to, you know, mixing it up in person at some point.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that too, definitely. Hopefully Everfree Northwest, and then definitely BABSCon 2022. #plug. But yeah, you know, definitely excited to see you guys in person and everybody else. So we were going through, we touched on a few topics that I do want to go a little bit more in depth on, but let's start with Easter eggs, everybody's favorite. So we talked about how the DuckTales and the Indiana Jones Easter eggs. What would you guys say are your favorite Easter eggs that you put in, and did people notice, or, you know, like in the case of the DuckTales and Indiana, where is it kind of a disappointment that no one picked up on it? How about, let's start with you this time, Thom.
I put in a reference to UHF, and as far as I know, nobody saw it. There's a bit where Cheese Sandwich and Pinkie Pie, back in the Friends Forever issue, are trying to find stuff to put a party on. And one of the ponies with him goes through the kitchen and says, I have a spatula, or spatula is funny. And Cheese Sandwich says, sometimes, because I love me some Spatula City. Spatula City. Buy 11 spatulas, get the 12th for just 1 penny. And also, I did an entire issue that's essentially Apocalypse Now, and nobody saw that either. So, but that's okay, because when I put stuff in, I don't want it to be like, you shouldn't have to get my joke to get the joke. You know, it's like when you're watching The Simpsons and it's funny, but you're like, I know you're doing something, but I don't know what.
Yep. Yeah, I totally get that. Alrighty, what about you, Andy? I know you got a lot in there.
I think what Thom said nails it. That's the best part of an Easter egg, is that you just want it. If somebody gets it, they get an extra gag on top of what they're already seeing, but it's not there as something that is essential to what is happening. And like, you know, Trish was saying, you know, she's done Easter eggs that nobody's noticed, and I've done all kinds that nobody has ever pointed out. And half of them are just for me. Half of them are just to entertain me, and the other half are, you know, are just silliness. Like the one they were just showing there, I had honestly forgotten I did until they put it up on the screen. And part of the issue at season 10 takes place at shipping docks, as they're all getting ready to head out to Zikora's homeland. And I put Gilligan and the skipper, and whose name just went out of me, the first pirate pony that we ever did in the comics from like issue 5 is in there as well, just to have a throwback. So I do things like that all the time, but really it's more for me than for anybody else. It's to entertain me, and if they get it, they get a bonus, you know. So.
Excellent. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I like doing comic throwbacks like that too. Like I have the most fun when I'm like building weird continuity in our books, you know, like we have this sort of like little like stepbrother, little brother complex where when the show would come along and just tear our continuity apart, you know, we've done all this stuff to build up this world, and then the show would just be like, that never happened.
Yeah.
I have fun like making sure that everything counts that we do in these comics. So like anytime there's like a reference back to a thing, or there's a chance to use like an older character from the comics, I try and bring those back. And in the stuff that me and Jeremy have been doing most recently with the cats of Etheria, is that right? That's where she was from.
Abyssinia.
Abyssinia,
Yeah,
yeah.
But there's a lot of callbacks to Andy and Ted Anderson's My Little Pony prequel comic, like the movie prequel. And so there was a lot of times where I could like pull characters from that, or a lot of times I would just rip off panels. Like this one right here specifically, where the cats are running away. I just stole Andy's panel from the prequel comic and just redrew it because it's a flashback to like just that second, that same moment. And so I think that's a fun way to get readers to remember, like, oh, I remember, You'd have to be like a super fan to catch the reference, but I think this is a kind of comic that has super fans, so I like doing that sort of thing to make it count, everything.
Yeah.
Together.
To rip off a friend of mine, continuity. Yeah, no, it's definitely great. One thing you touched on, and we did touch on last year a little bit, was what's it like having that freedom from, because season 10, the show itself has ended, so you don't have to worry about the conflict, because you don't have to worry about Gen 5. That's a different thing entirely. Hopefully they won't mess with your continuity. So what freedoms, there's that, and there's being able to mess with Cheese Sandwich without having to pay Weird Al Yankovic, and stuff like that. What freedoms do you find in season 10 and the comics that maybe the show doesn't have or will no longer impede with? We'll start with you again, Trish.
Well, I mean, you can introduce new characters. That's fun. I don't think I did, but I know that
I did nothing but that.
Yeah, that's all Jeremy did. He's like, here, enjoy these 6 dogs that didn't exist before. I enjoyed them.
Me too.
Yeah, they were really cool. But yeah, you can introduce new characters. Those don't impact anything that happened in the past, or anything that will happen in the future. You've got new environments, the whole new world you can make, just fresh blank page ahead of you, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things was getting to recombine and reconfigure groups of characters in a way that we hadn't seen them before, or in ways that occasionally we have seen them before, like putting Capper and Trixie back together, which Tony and I had done in Nightmare Nights, and to like have them back and be like, yes, this is an established friendship. Did you read Nightmare Nights? Well, it's there. They're buddies, and to play with that was fun. To get to use characters that are from the movie that never really got to cross over into the TV show at all is a lot of fun. Putting Tempest and Rockhoof together is a thing that I just did when I was dividing up the teams, and like as I was writing that first arc, I was like, I love these two together. They're fantastic. Like they're so funny playing off of each other. She is so like self-serious and sort of like she's still a little evil, the way I write her. Or she's got sort of an evil way of thinking about things, even if she is, doing the right thing. And then, you have Rockhoof, who is like as pure a good guy as you can possibly be, but his whole thing is just swinging around a shovel. And the two of them together are hilarious. And the fact that like when they go to the zebra world, that Rockhoof's the only one that any of them have ever heard of is hilarious to me.
Mm-hmm.
He's supposed to be this legendary hero that we didn't hear of for the first 5 seasons of the show, but it's fun to get to mix around some of that stuff, and then of course to create the new characters that we did, and there's still more of those to come, but our whole group of Diamond Dog princesses and the group of cats that we got to go around, Capper, and getting to bring back Chummer, who was a character that only existed in the prequel comics up till now, and just give him a current place in the world was fun to do.
Awesome.
I feel like he wished he'd stayed in the prequel comics. That cat got really messed up in between now and 5 years ago or whatever. It's been rough.
Yeah, it hurt me a little bit because Chummer is modeled after my cat Bella Lugosi. So seeing him beat up, I was like, oh.
What did Bella Lugosi think of it though?
He farted and moved on. So
because I put my cats on a cover and they just did not care at all.
No, they don't care. I put my cats in the issues all the time. They don't care.
Well, now Chummer is a little bit closer to Bela Lugosi. He gets to lurk in the shadows, and I'm sure Bela Lugosi would have loved to be, hammy in an eye patch.
Well, of course, our Bella likes to lick all the fur off of his belly, so it does kind of work. He is self-abusive.
Yeah, my daughter, I think my 5-year-old is in particular taken a liking to Molly, the tiny yellow cat who blows things up. She was immediately like, well, that's my cat. That's what I'm into.
That's a good cat.
Excellent. Yeah, no, I love all the cat cameos. So that's another thing. Are there some inside jokes that you guys put into the comics that like no one else will get, but maybe people who know you personally? I know my cousin does that sometimes with his movies, where he'll put in a joke that just for his family, no one else could possibly get it. Do you guys put those in there? Start with you, Thom.
Yeah, my dad's gonna appear in the next My Little Pony issue. I've got my dad worked for the post office, and I needed a mailman, so I kind of based the guy who worked there on my dad.
Your dad is Cliff Clavin?
Yes, that's it exactly. No, my dad is super awesome. Is what he is. I did that, and I put my friend Paul Story in, and Paul had actually named a pony because I'm horrible at naming ponies. I am just not good at it. And he kept, anytime he would make fun of me, he would create a character that he called Pumpkin Twizzle, and I finally just used that name in one, and it became canon. But Paul at Baltimore Comic-Con, his booth has this giant pole in it. So they know him as Pole Story. And I put Pole Story into the Sherlock Holmes issue that I did, which was all just like references for Sherlock Holmes fans. Paul is not canonical in Sherlock Holmes, though. Just
minor, yeah. All right. What about you, Tony?
No.
Okay. Short but sweet answer. All right. Andy?
I'm sure I have. I don't know of any that come to mind right off. Like I said, I've put my cats in and things like that. But aside from the Easter eggs, I don't know of anything that's really necessarily an inside joke. I mean, I've put some deep cut Easter eggs that nobody was going to get. There was a reference on an episode of 30 Rock where they were talking about a comedy club that was called the Chuckle Hut. But it was also a squirrel taxidermy place. Something like that. So I put a sign in the background of the Chuckle Hut. Nobody was going to get that. But I don't know of any personal inside jokes.
Your cats.
Other than cats.
Except for my cats. And it is not difficult to come up with pony names. I mean, like Bone Spur, Pork Gristle. You just take two words and put them together.
All right, we're gonna have a debate between Andy and Thom about whether it's hard to make pony names or not.
Thom said good pony names.
Bone Spur's a great pony name.
Alrighty, how about you, Trish?
I think, I've had such limited interior work, but I did put a little calling card at the in the Free Comic Book Day issue for I just had our little ponies, mine, Andy, Sarah, Tony, having food at a party in the background of the last scene.
Awesome.
That was pretty much it. But nobody saw the Free Comic Book Day issue because thanks COVID.
That's still a great home.
It's out there somewhere.
I've got 10 of them.
There we go.
I have twisted Bobby's arm into like getting it in the trade. So hopefully whenever that trade comes out, it'll have the free comic book day story in it. Because I was like, if we don't put it in the trade, then what was the use in it ever coming out? Like,
Yeah.
it's a prequel to the season.
It was just, at the beginning of that lovely Tony story at the back with cheese sandwich and Pinkie Pie. I think it was one of his.
Oh yeah.
It was just, the first 12 pages of that story. Just, skip.
Yeah, I think the biggest reference I've put in that I don't know that like fans at large would get, but I think is more for like sort of us in the closer knit pony community is I mean anybody who's read the annual, clearly Queen Jen is very obviously based on Jen Blake. She has Jen's hair and everything, and she's a good friend of many of ours, and I was trying to find a way to sneak her into something, and that seemed like as good a place as any, and that she's just up to her elbows in diamonds, and Rarity is immediately in love with her. Was just a little fun addition to that for us.
Awesome. Alrighty, so we'll get into the meat of the subject now. We've talked a little bit about being able to put in some new original characters, but let's talk about the overarching plot of season 10. And I will fully admit, as I was reading, I didn't expect there to be as much intrigue and world building as there was. Like, I'm very excited about what I see coming. So, what are, I suppose my question is like, what's the thought process behind where all this is going, because we've got, no spoilers for those who haven't watched it, but read it rather, but spoilers. We've got, possibly 5 harmony trees maybe going on. So I'm excited to see any of that. What are you guys, what was your thought process in like how the story progresses? And not that you can reveal where it's going, but any hints as far as that's concerned? How about you, Thom?
Well, the thing I staked out as quickly as I could was to write cheese sandwich and Pinkie Pie.
Yes.
Because I do a lot of romantic comedy comics. That's kind of my natural swing, and I wanted to do that. Based on how the comics are made, the kind of pitch that I did was I took the arc of their relationship that I wanted to cover and sectioned it up so that every story could take place independently. And then as they're interspersed throughout the issues that come out, it feels like the relationship is growing. Because I just didn't want to do like a 4-part story where suddenly their entire relationship happens. I wanted it to build much more naturally. And I thought spreading it out that way would make it happen, or make it read that way. So there's a 2-parter that starts it, and then there's another couple parts that'll come along that further the relationship. So I was just trying to, yeah.
Yay.
So I was trying to figure out how to essentially take what kind of to me would be a subplot. I mean, it's definitely a plot, but I wanted it to feel a lot more natural than like getting 2 people in an adventure and then they come to figure out that they love each other and like their entire arc of their relationship happens in 2 issues. So that was my challenge, to spread that out.
Cool. Excellent. Well, I definitely look forward to more cheese pie. All righty. How about you, Tony?
I don't know. I just draw them. That's Jeremy.
So I guess my approach to this like overall world building of the like all the stuff everybody hates now, all the stuff with the trees with the other groups of new characters is all sort of my original pitch for season 10, and that I was like, I felt like the natural way to take what they had done in season 9 up to like sort of putting a bow on Equestria and how how things were with our main characters in X number of years in the future was like, all right, well, in that case, we have to like go out. We have to go outside of Equestria and go see, what's out there and introduce some new areas of the world. And I had been sort of pitching a Zecora story since, Tony and Andy can tell you, since like the first time I got to pitch stuff here, I've been like, right, I want to do this thing with Zecora, and it was always like, well, we didn't really know what the show was going to do with Zecora. They thought they, you know, might have this thing here, that thing there, and I was like, well, I want to see where she's from and see the rest of that world where, you know, the zebras are. And I think as we were coming to this story, I was like, I like the idea that, like, I mean, part of, I think the lesson of season 10 is that the relationship between the main six is special, but so are all friendships. Like, you know, we as a country or as a culture or as a city don't have a monopoly on like what it's like to love people, you know, what it's like to have good friendships. And so, you know, I wanted to sort of take that idea out of Equestria and be like, oh no, there are other types of relationships out there. There are other, you know, places in the world where people have, you know, good, lasting, important, you know, relationships, be they friendships or other sorts of relationships. And, you know, that was the opportunity I saw with this series, was to take some of our characters who are from outside of Equestria and go see where they're from and what their friendships and relationships are like out there. And then, you know, in some cases, like the Diamond Dogs, getting to see a different side of, you know, those types of characters than what we've usually seen in the show. Because we really, Diamond Dogs tend to be kind of one-note characters. And Hasbro in particular, when we were talking about doing this arc, was like, yeah, we would like something that looks different than what the Diamond Dogs have been like in the show, you know. And they had Brianna Garcia design some new dogs for that. And that's how we ended up with this sort of cool and very colorful and different variety of Diamond Dogs from what you initially see in the show. And it gave us a real opportunity to sort of like round out what, you know, Diamond Dogs are like and what Diamond Dog royalty would be like.
Excellent. Awesome. Alrighty. Well, how about you, Trish?
I just draw 'em. Yeah, I just draw 'em. You know, what I liked about everything, as far as everything that I've seen in season 10, is that each issue kind of plays out like an episode of the show. You could almost see it in your head. So, like, my issue was kind of a standalone issue within the arc. So it'd be like one of those like mid-season break type deals. You know, you're watching 2 episodes at the beginning, and then you've got your 3 filler, and then you got another one that is part of the arc, and then, you know. So I feel like, while not filler, obviously, because it was a really good issue, it was still, you know, I like how each issue can still kind of stand alone, you know. Well, maybe not those ones that have to be continued at the end, but you know.
Yeah,
mine is kind of like a
2-part episodes.
Yeah, those are the 2-parters. That, yeah, mine was kind of a bottle episode. It's kind of on its own.
That's cool. Well, it's, you know, easy to digest that way. You know, you only have to pick up the one, and then you get a complete story there.
You get a little deeper look at the characters that we didn't get to see in the show, and that was really cool. And that story had a lot of heart, and I had a lot of fun drawing it. So I assume that folks had a lot of fun reading it, or, you know, I know I got some pointers from some friends who read it. But it was my first foray into arranging my own layouts and doing it all kind of on my own, which I thought was really fun to have the opportunity to do.
Awesome. What about you, Andy?
The grand fun about doing the ponies, well, there's all kinds of fun aspects, but one of the grand things is getting to play in that world and getting to stretch it out, which we've done so much of in the comics. Unlike the show, we don't have a restriction of budget, or we don't have, you know, things like people coming in and saying, can you work in this toy for... Actually, we have had that. I take that back.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
But for the most part, they've let us play. You know, you asked earlier, with the show being gone now, like, what kind of restrictions do we have? And we do still have restrictions. There are still things that we put forward. You know, we will present this idea, and they're like, no, why not? We can't say. So who knows? They could be making that up, or they could still have plans that they're, somewhere down the line. But there are things that they've touched on in the past, like Jeremy said, he so badly wanted to do Zecora. And we proposed a Zecora idea a long time ago as well. And then in one of Ted Anderson's issues, he had an issue that was kind of like the United Nations. So all these different creatures were in this one area, this convergence. And in the background, they had nothing to do with the story. I was just filling space. And in the background, I did a UN group of zebras. And Hasbro said, you can't do that. And they said at that time, Zecora is the only zebra. They said, and obviously that has since changed. So you never know what they're going to come up with that clobbers our ideas, or what kind of ideas we come up with that they're like, oh, that's great. We'll zoom with that. So
yeah, I feel like pitching this stuff is a lot like playing Operation, but in the dark. You're just like, you just occasionally hit the sides and you're like, oh, wait, what was that? Oh, yeah, I can't do that, I guess.
Yeah. And then, there have been times where they've asked for a specific idea. We want to use this character, or we want to approach this subject. Okay, here you go. No, we're not going to do that. That's too controversial or whatever. But you said, but it's their sandbox. We just play in it,
I think season 10 has had quite a bit of that, just because it's been such a long period of time and they've been developing the next thing while we're doing it. So every once in a while, it's like at the beginning they were like, yeah, do whatever. And then, a year later, they're like, accept that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
The thing we said was fine before, it's not fine.
Yeah. That historically we've kind of got in the 9.5 years we've been doing this book. Every once in a while that will come up. That's great. Oh, you meant it? You're actually going to do it? No, you can't do that. Well, we just printed it. Oh. So.
Alrighty. Cool. Well, I feel bad I sort of left poor Trish and Tony out of that question. So let's do something a little more for them. So, I've been talking a bit about writing aspects, but as far as artistic influences, what are some influences that you draw from or maybe reference in the comics, and how that helps your style and, influence how the comics go forward? Start with you, Tony.
There's such a great style already set up for this comic just by what the show did, especially in how they're colored and how not necessarily like the way that they're drawn, but just like the design of all the characters is so great to start with that you're already, it's like you're starting with a head start when you jump into drawing this thing. Like if you can draw any kind of good, you can draw this thing good because it already has good looking characters, but it's so different from the way that I would normally draw, that when I'm doing ponies, I bring in stuff as far as like storytelling and layout and stuff like that, but I don't know if I bring a lot of my influence to drawing the ponies. I just try and draw them good. I know Andy brings a lot more of himself into the way that he draws the ponies. I just do I try to do like a glossy, pony looking thing.
Pony looking thing?
Pony.
That's the scientific term.
Yeah, just try to make it ponyish.
Equestrian-ish.
Yeah.
It says that on all the model sheets, glossy pony.
Pony looking thing.
Yeah.
Model sheets, it just says it should look ponyish.
As pony as could be.
Yeah.
Right. Which is pretty good considering these characters look nothing like a pony.
I do believe I've heard artists refer to them as pig dogs before. So.
Aww.
Pig dogs, cat goats.
Yeah.
They're anything but a horse,
Yeah. They try.
Cool.
They try.
I kind of do something similar, but I like a lot of, pushed in varied expression. So I kind of will take a happy expression and just push it a little more each time. That's pretty much all I really bring to it. It's just I could draw ponies before, but I could draw a lot of different things before. I like drawing cartoon characters in general, so I kind of just brought that fun and and just pushed it a little bit further. It seemed to go well. I mean, folks seem to like it. I mean, look at that.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a great page.
Yeah.
Look at this pony.
It's beautiful.
But yeah, I just like to push their little expressions a bit, and maybe Scootaloo's a little more terrified than she should be, or deaf. I don't know. That thing is screaming in her ear. So, I just kind of wanted
layout.
to. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked doing that page. When they told me it was a splash page, I was like, finally.
Yay! Awesome. Yeah, no, everything looks fantastic. I'm not much of an artist myself, but I can appreciate it. I will say, you guys are talking about pony-like creatures. What about the not quite pony-like creatures? Things like the Kelpies and the Vata and things like that. What difficulties and exciting challenges maybe came up in the different races? This specifically for Trish and Tony here. So going back to you, Trish.
Wait! I didn't draw those, but they're
oh yeah, that's
characters.
Right. They weren't really so much in your area. That's right.
That's Andy and Jeremy land.
Well, you still did do a lot of the creatures.
I basically I threw at both Andy and Tony's feet in their arcs. It's like, all right, reinvent an entire society here, and also create multiple types of different characters.
Yeah, that was the most fun. In my case, it was just like do a bunch of different cats, but it was fun just being sort of like toss them all at the same time, reading a little bit of what their character was, and then just getting to go like, all right, well, I'm making a team. So in the same way that the ponies are a team that look cool together, I want to make a team of cats that look cool together. I want them to be different shapes and different colors and have different attitudes. And so I jumped into doing that with great aplomb. Like you can see here, they're all just regular cats, but they all have, like, if it's a silhouette, except for Capper and Chummer, who are like the two like original cats, like the cats that already, like all these new cats, if you saw them in a dark alley, you'd be like, oh, that's Max or that's Admiral Fluffington or whatever, you know them to see them coming. So I had fun doing that.
Excellent. How about you, Andy?
Yeah, anytime you get to design a new character, it's always a ball. Because you get to put a lot more of yourself into it. You still want to keep a similar line, a similar flow to the design. But when they said, okay, we're going to do some other zebras, I turned in like 3 pages worth of different zebra characters for Hasbro's approval of all different colors and all different shapes, and I really pushed a lot of cultural influence and everything. But then when we got to do like the Adabas and Kelpies, that was something all new, especially the Kelpies. And since we were doing kind of another group of 6, I wanted to have a little bit of reflection of the main 6. So like I wanted to have a slight Rarity look and a slight Fluttershy look and a little bit of attitude in the Rainbow Dash type of character and things like that. I wanted some similarities, but not identical type of things. And I know our colorist Heather hated me because I did these fades on all the Kelpies, all the water-based characters. I did fades on all of them. And I'm sure in my heart I did that just to annoy her. But it's funny, going back on this page, you asked about in-jokes.
The LARPing.
And she does actually have an in-joke on the bottom. The Ogres and Oubliettes book
LARP rules
was the thing that Katie came up with for the D&D version, the pony version of D&D, which they later adapted into the show they actually used. But and so I put it on there by Kay Cook at the very bottom.
Oh, cool.
And I'm Jeremy had him in costume doing LARPing, which was great for me. He inadvertently put an in-joke for me because I used to do LARPing. That's how I met my wife. We met
that's
in
so
a LARPing
cute.
group. So there's circular story. Go back to that original question.
That's awesome. I love that Zakura was a LARPer. That made me very happy when I that, like, of course she was.
I guarantee she will never tell anybody that. She'll never admit
Yeah, it's totally something that she wouldn't bring up, but I could totally see as part of her upbringing. I loved it.
Yeah, it completely wipes out the whole voodoo mystery aspect of her.
I mean, what even rhymes with LARP? Carp.
It's true. It's true. Alrighty. Well, we're getting to the point where I'm gonna open up to Q&A for the Discord. So if you're on Discord on the Solar Deck chat, the text chat, go ahead and post your questions. But while we wait for the audience to catch up with us, I actually want to talk about your guys' other work, because what might be shocking to our viewers is there's a world outside of ponies. So I want you guys to, plug your other work. I know we've got some stray dogs going on and things like that. So let's talk about that. Let's start with you, Trish.
Oh, I always talk about stray dogs. I love this book. Not just because I draw it, not at all, and that Tony writes it at all. Not that, I don't have any biases. It's a great book. It's doing it really well. I can't imagine, thinking when we were pitching everything or when everything was coming together, thinking so many people would be in love with this book and this whole story, but it's blowing me away. That's for sure. We're on issue 4 just came out. Issue 5, we're gonna send to the printer very soon, and it'll be in everyone's hands, and I can see how this whole thing ends.
I'm sharing pictures of it right now. I don't know if you guys can see.
Yes.
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 Beautiful.
It's the first issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, The Stray Dogs is a book that me and Trish did. It's at Image Comics, which you can get at any comic store you get My Little Pony comics at. But it's not the same tone as My Little Pony at all, but it's just as cute. But it's about a group of dogs that live in a house, and they find out that the master of their house is actually a serial killer who kidnapped them all, and they forgot about it. So they've just been living this idyllic dog life, and then they find out that everything they thought they knew is a lie. So very cute, very dark.
There's a dog in this book, which was why I really loved the Diamond Dog Princesses, Indiana in particular. Because I have a Malamute and I love her.
It's awesome.
And then I'm working on My Little Pony Transformers right now too, which I don't know if we're going to talk about, but I can show you some stuff that hasn't come out yet.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We got to stop share and start sharing something else. Hold on.
All right. Super.
And my Little Pony Transformers 2 issue just came out this past week.
Like 2 weeks ago.
Excellent.
So this is the cover for My Little Pony 100 that nobody's seen yet. I think it's approved, so we should be good.
I hope so.
Everybody else had theirs done like weeks ago, and I just finished mine up last week, so there's that. But I wrote and drew a story in My Little Pony Transformers number 3 that's about Octavia and Vinyl Scratch and Soundwave. And I can show you, I'll show you pages from it.
The cover's great.
Thanks, man. So Vinyl Scratch and Octavia are on Cybertron, and they head into a cave to hide, and they run into the young six in there, who I wrote into this story because they're the kids that I'd drawn the most recently, and I was just like, oh, I know how to draw them. Let's put them in this. And the kids think everything's cool on Cybertron until they start to get scared by these robots. And then when they're in the cave, Soundwave shows up, and they sort of get into a fracas, and they end up in a cave-in. And then they have to figure out how to bust out of this cave that they're stuck in. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but if you had guessed they were going to have a DJ battle to break out of this cave, you were correct.
Yes, awesome.
So they get
Place your bets now.
Yeah, exactly. And then this is the cover for number 4.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, Sombra's got everybody under his thrall in this story. So yeah, that's what's coming up in that book. Again, like I said, it's just been so weird to have these books coming out and not see anybody's face in person when they bring them up to get them signed or talk to anybody about them, because I'm so excited to hear what people think about that book and about this season 10 stuff, when we come back to in-person stuff, because we've been doing all kinds of stuff during this year off. Like, I just have a room full of comps of just books, pony books and other books that we've been putting out that just stacking up higher and higher. So whenever shows come back, I'm going to have books.
Ah, excellent. All the books. Awesome. Well, yeah, we'll definitely see you guys next April 2022, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone's really excited about the Transformers. I definitely know a couple of my friends who are super stoked about all the Transformers stuff going on. Now, is there anything else anybody else wants to plug? I don't know how much you guys are working off Steam. Looks like Thom wants something.
So I was doing Love and Capes when the pandemic started. I actually was publishing it when everybody else shut down. And the comic is now Love and Capes in the Time of COVID. And it comes out on Patreon. And then 3 months later, it's up on the Tom Zahler site. So you can read that for free. It's the heroes dealing with the pandemic. And it's actually funny. So it's not super dark. It's kind of helped me deal with things, just kind of work things out as they were going on. So that's been, and the card game I did some stuff for Webtoon, a thing called Warning Label. In it, one of the characters creates a card game where you create a comic book convention and play against other comic book conventions. And that is finally out and available on my website.
Oh.
Yes,
It's
because
in my
Andy
hand.
drew me pieces.
Awesome. Cool. How about you, Jeremy?
So I've been working on a lot of things, a lot of which have not been announced or come out in any capacity. But what I did have come out this last year, and the second book of it is getting ready to come out, is hold on, let me share my screen here, is the School for Extraterrestrial Girls, which is a story about a girl who has super strict parents and has one bad day and then finds out the reason that her parents are so strict is because she's secretly an alien when she catches on fire in the middle of school in the middle of the day. And she's sort of captured by this government agency and given this option of either she has to, be shipped off back to wherever her people are from, or she can join the School for Extraterrestrial Girls, which is a school full of girls who are actually, aliens living on Earth who are, given the option of staying there and learning more about, their people and representing their people on Earth, rather than being shipped back away somewhere else. So she, gets new roommates and has to start to learn to live with people who are very different from her and learn a lot about her world and where she's really from. So the first book of that is already out from Paper Cuts, and the second book of that is coming out. There's actually a free comic book day release is that August this year?
Yeah, August.
Yep, August 14th.
August. And then the whole second book will be out in September right after that.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, sounds like you guys are up to some exciting stuff. All right, anybody else I missed before we move on?
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry, Andy.
Well, first off, I'm wrapping up finishing inks on issue 100 of My Little Pony this weekend.
Whoa, shiny.
And then I immediately jump on to I also do a lot of horror work whenever I can, and I'm doing a book for John Carpenter. Has a comic book company called Storm King Productions, and I've been working with them for the past 2 years. I'm doing another story this year. They put out a giant annual every Halloween called Tales for a Halloween Night, and it is as non-pony as I can possibly get. This will be my third story for them. First one was kind of a Twilight Zone, Mayberry, Twisted type of thing. The second one was a kind of classic gothic horror witch tale, and the new one is a ghost story. I'm also doing some work on a particular property that'll come out who knows when, thanks to COVID. But I'm still working on that. That's something that was supposed to be wrapped up last August, and I'm still working on it, still being drug out. And then I've got a project at DC that has been contracted, and again with COVID has been put on a back burner, but they've started turning up the heat on it. And I'm doing that with Sarah Richard, one of our other pony people, in collaboration with her. She's one of the other artists on it. And a couple of other things that I'm not supposed to talk about just yet, including one of which that Katie Cook and I have been working on for a long time with one of our IDW editors, and hopefully the fire is getting turned up on that. So,
excellent.
Is that the one that you were working on, like way at the beginning?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. And they're starting to talk about it a lot more. I've turned in art and things like that. So
cool. Excellent. Hopefully. Well, yeah, well, hopefully with everybody getting vaccinated and stuff, and things will hopefully start moving forward and and everything. Yeah, awesome.
Listen, if we come back to BABSCon, can you get them to open back up that seafood restaurant on the cliff?
No shit.
I mean, I like BABSCon and everything, but I don't know if I want to go to San Francisco if they don't have that seafood restaurant on a cliff open.
I was heartbroken when I found out Cliff's House shut down thanks to COVID. Just heartbroken.
Yeah, lots of things unfortunately didn't survive, but we move on. We survive as a fandom. Alrighty.
If fans could learn how to make like a surf and turf for like good scallops or something, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, get us a good grill and maybe we can make our own. We'll see.
Although
Tony has some brony chefs out there.
Tony has just given the bronies permission to bring shrimp to our tables at shows.
There you go.
I'm allergic to seafood. I will not be
eating unsolicited scallops. Thank you.
Any food poisoning you get is your own discretion there.
I trust that brony chef. I bet he could cook up scallops.
The brony chef, yes. I don't know about
everybody else. No.
Everybody else. How pink is that shrimp? Let's be fair. Alrighty, well, I'm gonna start cracking on some questions, and I'll do some more plugs later on. But let's see, we've got one I think is a really good question, is how do you space out character arcs? Like, what's a good way? I think what they're trying to say is what's a good way of, like, spacing out the stories so that it's a natural flow? Anybody wants to chime in at this point?
Those are some writer questions.
Some writer questions, yes.
Well, they're editor questions. I would have written 12 issues of Pinkie Pie and Cheese, but that was not to be. So yeah, Megan and Bobby have to figure out where those things go a little more than we do, at least for me.
Yeah, okay. I think in comics, especially stuff like this, it's largely a question of form. It's like, oh, I have 4 issues. All right, well, this character arc can take 4 issues. So let's space that out with, whatever the plot is, and, make sure that we service all the major characters that are here. And, I know, the first 4 issue story of this is largely Zecora story arc. So I was like, all right, I gotta get Zecora from here to there, but I have a lot of plot and stuff to cover in between. But I mean, in your own stuff, you can take however long you like, as whatever feels natural to you. I mean, Panelists, my original creator-owned series, has been going for 10 years, and I'm still not done with that character arc. So
excellent. Well, that's cool. It's I always find that to be honestly a real answer. It's like, what's your inspiration? Deadlines. What's your inspiration? How many issues I have? I mean, I feel that's a fair answer. Okay, so I've got another good question over here. Is what is your favorite? I was just looking at it. Where'd it go? What is your favorite character to write for? If anybody has that We'll start with let's start with Andy, since I almost forgot him last time.
Easily Celestia and Luna.
Celestia and Luna, cool.
It's weird when I started doing the ponies, I hated those characters. It wasn't so much the characters as I hated drawing them because they didn't fit the cookie cutter mold of the other ponies. You know, you could draw a generic pony, you change the hair, and there's Twilight or Pinkie Pie or whatever. And Celestia and Luna were unique, and I learned to actually like that, and I just had so much fun writing them. To take away some of the royal snobbery and bring them a bit more down to earth, give them some humor. They were a blast. They were a blast to write for. I had another story in for them, and I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but we'll see. So,
I think for me, it's changed a bit over time. I think initially it was, absolutely Discord and Luna were my two favorites going in. And I still love writing both of them. I've really learned to enjoy writing Trixie. I think Trixie is fun. A character who can somehow both learn things and not change is pretty amazing. I really enjoy writing Tempest Shadow. I've kind of monopolized her since she was in the movie. I was like, yes, I want to write another Tempest Shadow story. Yes, I want her to be in this story. Like, I like her. I like the way she doesn't fit in Equestria, the way that she has, hard, jagged edges, and writing her into an episode that had an issue that had a whole musical number in the middle of it, where she was just like not game to play with the musical number was a lot of fun. So I think Tempest and Trixie are two of my favorites. And then, it's been fun making up these the characters in this season. But I really enjoyed both of our Kelpies for that first arc as well, because they have very, very unique characters as well.
Mine's changed too. I started off big into Twilight Sparkle. Went through a Fluttershy phase, and I seem to be writing a lot of Pinkie Pie, and that's fine. I don't know, I just click with her. My favorite one though so far I love turning them all evil. I like writing the evil versions of the ponies. I thought those were a ton of fun. And then I'm also really proud of the Applejack story where they make their mom's apple pie recipe. Which initially I just pitched because I wanted to write the William Shatner pony. But I got him to sign the book because it was awesome. But yeah, I like finding those sweet moments with characters that I didn't expect. And it's just nice to be able to bounce around and drill down. And as you write characters in one story, you start figuring them out differently. Like I had the hardest time writing Rarity back when we were pitching way in the beginning. They wanted pitches for individuals of all the main six. And I figured out how to do everyone. I had a pitch for everyone except Rarity. I couldn't figure her out. And then since then, she's become a lot easier to write. She's not my favorite, but she's one of my favorites. And I liked, especially when I challenged Andy to do all the 80s fashions in the Rarity story that we did. That was a ton of fun.
I think Thom and I can both agree that Zahler is the worst one to write.
She is fun to write for 2 pages.
Yes.
And then after that, it gets really old.
You warned me. You were like, yeah, you think you want to do a story with Zahler, but I did a whole story with Zahler. And so I was like, let me do a 4-issue story, part of which Zahler has to narrate. I was like, great.
Yeah, I had a scene where Zahler was trying to get information out of animals that were talking. It was in the story Tony did. And she's telling bad jokes and making them get to the end. And it's hard enough writing the bad jokes, but it's worse trying to get like bad jokes to rhyme and make them play.
Yeah, I had fun breaking it because I was like, I'm gonna take an instance where like Zahler gets so mad that she doesn't rhyme, and that's how you know that things are bad. It's Zahler stops rhyming.
Yeah.
And that Applejack is like, wait, you stopped rhyming. What's going on?
Alrighty, let's see. Who hasn't answered yet?
I've only written like 2 issues, so I guess mine's changed over time as well. when I wrote the Rainbow Dash thing, I really liked writing Rainbow Dash, but now I really like writing DJ Pony and Vinyl Scratch, and Octavia and the Young Six. DJ Pony, the easiest to write because she does not speak. That's pretty good. But I really like Yona. I think she's super fun, just because she's a yak and she yells, but she's also like a real sweetheart. So I like that. I like that angle to a character.
I don't necessarily write, but my favorites to draw are pretty easy to spot. Anyone that's got like a nice, cool, dynamic personality. I like to draw Rainbow Dash. I know there is one person in my life who absolutely despises Rainbow Dash, and every time I draw her, she has to say something, Karen. But hi, Karen.
Oh, Karen.
Yeah. But I once got her back by drawing Rainbow Dash with Mare's hair. It was fantastic. Nice. She loves Mare.
Cool.
That's a specific Karen. That's not just a.
No, it's a specific Karen, not a generic.
Yeah.
Not a
We know which
generic
one.
Karen.
Yeah.
Is it with the K or with the C?
They hate Rainbow Dash. They're always asking.
Seeing the manager about Rainbow Dash, yeah.
I don't like
we
Rainbow
know
Dash's
exactly
behavior.
which Karen you're discussing there.
Yes.
Yeah, well, so anyway, the one time I did get to put a character in, I put in the background of one of the episodes there was some chef ponies, and I put the Hell's Kitchen, the Gordon Ramsay pony, in the background of several parts of the prequel comic that didn't get released.
One day.
I'm sure it's available digitally somewhere. I'm sure
it
somebody
probably
has
is,
it.
Yeah. I think
But
it is.
he's in there.
Sure
But he's in there. And I think I have him yelling at somebody. Or he's just looking generally scowly.
as he's wont to do. Alrighty.
It's gotta be free somewhere. It's free comic book day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys know where to steal.
Somebody's
comics.
got cases and cases of those books laying around somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. Okay, everybody had their answers, yes? I didn't miss anybody?
Yeah.
All right, so we've got a lot of questions about crossovers. They're asking about Magic the Gathering crossovers, Fallout Equestria crossovers, more, let's see, Legend of Doom, more about the Transformers and stuff. So obviously we know about the Transformers crossover that's coming out. And I know there are certain things you guys can't talk about, but it seems the general populace wants to know if there are any crossovers in the making that you guys are able to talk about. If anybody knows. No.
I think I can answer those questions in a row if I remember them correctly. Maybe, no. Possibly, but probably not. Yes.
Okay, cool. I don't know what answer I threw them at you, but or what order I threw them at you, but hopefully that answers everyone's questions.
Yeah.
Well, I finished inking the My Little Pony Golden Girls crossover about a month ago, so that should be coming out soon. So
There you go. There you go.
yeah, I think we get questions about crossovers all the time. That everybody wants a Sonic or Archie or Doctor Who or whatever, and there's a lot of legalities and a lot of money that goes into work there, and it's not something that they can just do at the drop of a hat. With MLP and Transformers, it was easier because they're both owned by Hasbro.
Right.
But even then, there's still licensing and legalities that have to be cleared because it's all different work teams that do those things. And all we can do is put in the request for you guys and then tell you no when they tell us no. So
Yeah, I mean, I know the only alternate universe crossover I have ever pitched. They told me no immediately. So I just wanted to do the story where Kal-El like crash lands in the middle of Ponyville and is adopted by the Cakes and grows up as Clark Cake thinking he's a pony and then discovers he's not when he gets older. He has superpowers. I was like, that Superman pony crossover is I think that's where it's at. But they were like, no, we can't and won't do that.
a lot of Tarzan flavor there too. So
There you go. There you
I
go.
pitched Mars Attacks My Little Pony in the middle of a panel when IDW was having Mars Attacks all their books. It did not happen.
Yeah.
I
Like
will
Andy
draw
was saying.
that right now.
I still
now.
have the pitch.
Andy was saying Ponies and Transformers is like difficult, even though they're both Hasbro. It took like 5 years for them to, from the start to when the first miniseries came out. It took that long for them to actually, get it going. Like, we started it forever ago. So yeah, it's crossovers. I think is exciting and fun, like in a fan sort of way to put smash stuff together and do that sort of thing. But in the actual, like nuts and bolts of it, it seems like it's a real pain in the butt.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys were talking a little bit about things you've pitched. Do you guys have like dream crossovers, even if you're not part of that decision, something you might think about you'd want to cross over with Ponies?
I did one, not so much a crossover, but a theme. I wanted to do an anthology book of short stories along the lines of the Twilight Zone. I wanted to do the Twilight Sparkle Zone. And our editor was like, no way in hell am I going to edit an anthology book. He said, they're absolute hell. That is like editor punishment. And he's like, the idea is great. I will not do it. Because I wanted to get everybody to do, like, each story would be a different writer, different artist, etc. Maybe some guest shop pinups where anybody could do whatever they wanted and just do weird stories, weird comedic little pony stories that wouldn't necessarily fit into an episode or a full issue. And I pitched that a long time ago, and they're like, that's great. Absolutely not.
I would just pitch it to the new editor. She seems way more game.
That's true.
Yeah, I
doesn't know
pitch
how
it to
bad
Bobby
it is
for
to do an
Megan
anthology.
to edit.
Yeah.
Hey, Bobby, you should let Megan edit this book.
Yes.
All right.
And
Thanks
Megan goes, what did I do to you guys? Are you
Right.
So when we
I thought
see
we were
My Little
cool.
Pony MASH,
Oh,
yeah.
I know where it came from.
There you go.
I have put Hawkeye and BJ in an issue. They're in the Rarity Micro issue. So
Excellent. Awesome. Well, here's something to look forward to, fans, as well as possible abuse for poor Megan, apparently. Alrighty. So another question has popped up a couple times. Do you know if there are any plans for Generation 5 comics, and if any of you guys are partaking? No.
Yeah, I know that there have been conversations, but we are not privy to those conversations. So
That seems fair.
Yeah.
I can
All
neither
right.
confirm nor deny the actions of any rep without permission of the secretary.
That person, yeah. That does seem fair. There was a question, I'm gonna reword it slightly. But they wanted to know, did you guys were you part of the Brony fandom before getting involved with the comics, or did you kind of get thrown into the comics after you got the job, or into the fandom after you got the jobs?
Well,
Or did you know the series? Yeah.
I was in the fandom a long time before I was on the comics.
Mm.
But that was I liked it because there was a convention that was local in my area that I got to work on. BronyCon.
Yeah, good old BronyCon.
And mine was kind of neither one nor the other, because like I was not really part of the fandom, but I had, a 4-year-old at that point who was really into the show. And I had seen a lot of episodes of it because it was far preferable to watching Dora the Explorer again. So like I was like, oh no, this one is actually good and funny and enjoyable. So like I got to know the characters and the show pretty well. And then, just happened to, I think, bump into Tony at Denver Comic Con, however many years ago that was. And, I was doing Princeless at that point, which is very much in the same sort of subgenre of comics. And he was like, hey, you ever thought about doing this? Let me talk to my editor and see, maybe you can pitch some stuff. So, that's kind of how I ended up in it. I kind of was like not even conscious of the larger fandom at that point. But boy, once you get to working on the comic, you get very conscious of the fandom very quickly.
Welcome to the herd. How about you, Thom?
I was not. I was doing Love and Capes for IDW, and it's right when Katie and Andy's first issue was about to come out or had been announced. And I knew that IDW would do like 18 trillion covers on everything. So I asked if I could get one, and because I'm like, well, I can draw cartoony and my stuff shows up on time. And Bobby said, do you want to pitch the series? And I said, well, I'm not an idiot. Yes. So then I mainlined the show after that and really, really liked it. It's one of those things where I don't know why My Little Pony is a success, but I know why it's not a failure. Like it's really, really good and really well structured. And there are other properties that have pitched on where all the characters just get along, and that's super boring to write for. And I like that every pony has a reason to like each other and a reason to hate each other. And you have built-in conflict, and you can write stories around it. So once I got into that, everything was over after that.
Right. Excellent. How about you, Andy?
Yeah. When I started on the book, I had only seen the show for maybe about 2 months' time. But I got into it. It was like Thom and Jeremy both said, was very enjoyable to watch. It never talked down to the audience. It was a show that was meant for kids, but anybody could watch it, and it was intelligent, and that hooked me. But as far as the fandom goes, the first time I ever truly experienced it, when we announced the book, the praise and threats that we got at the same time were very, very interesting. When your coworker calls you and says that they just got a threat from overseas because you're doing a book about cartoon pastel ponies, it's pretty interesting. And the first time we went to a all pony show, and we had somebody meet us at the airport and said, I'm your handler and I'm your security. And I was like, you're my what? And I was like, I don't need a handler. I've been doing conventions for years. This is fine. And then when you get to the show and there's a line already at your booth, and there's people that know your name and know every line you've drawn, and it was just amazing. I've never ever encountered anything so astounding, so wonderful, so humbling, so terrifying. Everything, all of the adjectives. It's great. It is great. I still love it. So
excellent. Well,
I used to be one of those people at your table. You didn't know me then. You're like, who's this girl?
You were humbling.
Get her out of here.
A lot of my friendships start that way. It was like, I met you once when you weren't paying attention to me at all.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Yeah. How about you, Tony?
It only affected me a little bit. As I still have this in a frame right next to me.
Oh my God.
Ooh, nice frame.
Beautiful.
Nice drawing.
Nice frame.
Lovely non-reflective glass.
Yeah, right. I'm sorry. It's so shiny. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Tony.
No, it's all good.
Oh no, mine's the same. I'd seen a little bit of it, and then I was not prepared for the fandom. I think I knew a little bit about the fandom because you hear about it, like at that time when there were first bronies, it was like a scandal. The whole internet was like, did you hear about this? But it was my first time dealing with like a fan base that rabid. And it was also, I think, my first time dealing with like that generation of internet people, because as you can see, I'm old, and bronies are like probably about 10, 15 years younger than me generally. And so they're from a whole different world, like the way that they interact with stuff and the way that they consume stuff is so different from the way I had, that it was just like there was like catching up to do, just even like being on the level to communicate with them, it was just like, about that, about all that, like just because of how they can consume stuff online and how they interact online. It was sort of like more advanced than the way that an old person does it. Like I'm like a Facebook mom. I just go like, that's nice, and
and that is one of the benefits to like working on the book, is you can be like, oh no, I can't read any of that. Like I'm not allowed to read all the fan fiction. Like it's legally I have an obligation not to.
We didn't have all this gray until the first fan came to our table and called us, "Excuse me, sir."
Sir.
What?
Yeah.
And then you instantly turn gray. That's
Instantly.
it.
Yeah.
It's like the Santa Claus, you know.
It's at that moment. Yes. Yeah.
I haven't been
You
in
can-
quite as
you
long
can
as
hear
the
the
two of them
gray.
and just
Shut up, Jeremy.
It's okay. I've got some gray hairs going on.
I
too.
have gray on the sides starting, but getting there.
Getting there.
Thanks.
Yeah. It's okay. These kids and their newfangled stuff.
And their carpenter's music and
their ponies and
radio.
They're Dan Fogelberg and
Their damn
their hula hoops and their lollipops. Alrighty. So let's see. I think we have maybe time for one more question before we start wrapping up. Although this is more of a writer question, so I'm going to tweak it a little bit to apply to the artist as well. The question is, how do you make characters bounce off of each other? But I'll also ask, how do you make characters, like you mentioned a little bit, or how characters look well together. So how do you like configure the characters, you know, to work well together, either physically or artist or with the writing?
Good question.
So
Jeremy,
we'll start
talk
with you
about
then.
Jeremy, tell us about Tempest and Rockhoof, because that's a good example right there.
Oh, that is.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think I learned how to do this a lot from writing Friends Forever stuff, that it's like, all right, what's a combination of characters I've never seen before? This character and this character, like, what do they have in common? What do they have that's different? Like, what could we do with this? I think like my favorite example of that, and I feel like I bring this up at every like pony convention I do, is the Friends Forever story I did that's Babs Seed and Rarity, where I was like I felt like that one was like a drawn out of a hat. Like I've never seen those two characters together before, so like what would their thing be? And you know that their thing ends up being like they are so different from one another, but they are both like misunderstood. They both have parents who just don't get them, like and that's such a like relatable experience, I think, especially for, you know, us, for people in comics, people in fandom, that it's like, oh, like you're experiencing that same thing I was experiencing, let me take an interest in your thing. You know, it's not necessarily my thing, but it seems cool. And you know, finding those little bits in which, you know, the established bits of the characters sort of rub up against each other. I think with, you know, Tempest and Rockhoof, it was like, all right, they're both warrior type characters. They both are going to be the ones in the group that run right at whatever is attacking them. But Tempest is like, has a history of just doing it in the sneakiest, most underhanded way possible, like looking for, you know, holes in you know, people's strengths. And Rockhoof, on the other hand, just runs forward swinging a shovel at whatever it is, regardless of what his chances of winning are. And so to sort of have them rub up against each other, and for them to have moments where like they're relating to each other. I think one of the funniest bits to me was like they're talking to each other just after they've gotten on a boat to cross the ocean, and Rockhoof's like, "Oh, I just thought of something," and Tim's like, "What?" And he's like, "What am I gonna do with a shovel on the ocean? There's nothing to shovel." And then Tempest just laughs at him, just thinks that's the funniest thing, because you know, it would never occur to her that there's just like one way to fight. And so like it's always fun to, you know, take those two characters and just like figure out, you know, what works for them and what doesn't, and where they're going to meet in the middle somewhere.
For me, it's figuring out what the characters want and why those things are in conflict. I just like writing banter anyway. I you know, my goal is to write the Thin Man and just have that kind of dialogue happening all the time. So anytime you can have a quiet moment where the characters bounce off each other, and I can like, I'll go on a walk or walk around the house or do whatever, but start doing the dialogue out loud, because that just like your brain disengages from your mouth and you're just talking out loud, and you find things in the way that the characters talk that that let you figure out what interesting parts there are. I'm also, a lot of times I'll template characters and I'll compare their relationship to other relationships I know and steal from that. So like back in the day when I wrote Rainbow Dash and Trixie, I realized to my mind they were Captain Kirk and Harry Mudd. And like, it's not that you write the exact relationship, but it's that kind of dynamic that you start going, oh, this is the lane I want to be in, and I can figure out how to write these characters uniquely based on aiming in that direction.
Alrighty. Tony, Trish, you guys.
Yeah, when you I mean, it's a similar thing when you're making characters bounce off of each other or making them interact with each other or doing compositions. It's similar to writing it, like you're just looking for the things that make them the same and the things that make them different. When you're doing like a team of characters or like two characters together, what you really want, like ideally, is you want one that is shaped one way and another that's shaped a different way, so that you always have like different shaped things to go together. And that does not happen in My Little Pony because they're all shaped the same way. You know, they just have either a horn or some wings. But luckily they all have these personalities that makes them shaped differently. You know, like Fluttershy is always standing differently than, say, like a Rainbow Dash stands. Or like Pinkie Pie, what I try to do with her is have her never be on the ground. You know, like she's just always bouncing somewhere. That way you have a character that's bouncing. You know, like you can have, instead of just having a row of 6 ponies, you know, you can have a row of 5 ponies and one that's, you know, off in the corner because she does that. Or the ones that fly, you can have them flying. And then I think as the show went on and they got more adventurous, you know, they would introduce, you know, more adventurous looking characters. And to the, you know, like when they got to like the movie characters, all of those are different shapes. Or when they got to like the Young Six, they all are a completely different shape. And then the like the Legends, a bunch of those are different shapes as well. So I think that works well for, you know, just for drawing characters together, composing things. Like it's much easier to do pages with characters that look different. But you know, we've been working on this book for so long, like Andy said, like 9 years, that you also figure out how to make the pages look good with the characters that are all the same shape too.
Unfortunately, we are out of time. So I'm gonna start wrapping up for you guys, and we'll grab the answers from these guys at a later date. So I firstly want to plug actually the vendors. I want you guys to go and you know, support the vendors. And Thom, from what I hear from My Little Birds, you have a booth over there?
Yes, I do. It's under the clever name Thom Zahler.
There you go. So go visit his booth, and all the other lovely vendors. Want to make sure to support them. You can buy, and I think a lot of these guys, all their comics you can get like on Amazon and places like that. Absolutely check them out. So if anybody wants to say goodbye, starting with Trish.
Thanks for having us on. Check out Stray Dogs #5 in June. Free Comic Book Day is also coming. That's we're having an issue after that. Plug-in Stray Dogs. I know that's not a pony thing, but we came from here.
Yeah, we're pony.
Hey, I work in an animal shelter. I'm all about the stray dogs.
So
All right. So how about you, Andy? Say goodbye.
Bye. Hopefully I will see everybody at Everfree. It looks like that's going to happen, and I might be dragging somebody along with me that rarely ever does pony appearances. So we'll see.
All right. Yep, Jeremy, go for it.
Yep, and if you have more questions for me or want to talk to me or see more about comics I'm doing, I am on Twitter at jrome58. It's JROME58, and I also do podcasts about scary movies that you can find stuff about there too, called Progressively Horrified. So until then, goodbye.
Tony?
Yeah, My Little Pony Transformers #3 comes out next month. I wrote and drew a story in there that I showed you pages from. And then Stray Dogs #5 comes out next month, but we've got printings of all the issues that are available right now. So if you somehow didn't hear about it until today, you can call your comic shop and say, I want Stray Dogs. And they should be able to order it from the distributor for you. So ask them for Stray Dogs. But My Little Pony too, you know, like Trish said, we're pony folks. It's all in the all love. It's all in the same.
All of,
Yes.
all the family here.
We're all four-legged mammals. We're all about it. Yeah. Alrighty. And Thom?
So you can find me at ThomZ.com. I'm Thom Zahler on Twitter. And yeah, just check out Love and Capes. And I've got another issue of My Little Pony coming out soon, and I'm doing conventions again. So I'll be in Dayton next month, and hopefully Everfree and a bunch of other places.
Awesome. Well, we'll see them possibly at Everfree, but hopefully definitely at BABSCon 2022.
Yeah.
Plugging that as well. So yeah, it's been great talking to you guys. Have a great BABSCon 2021, and I'll see you guys in person, hopefully.
Bye.
See you soon.
Thanks for having